Hello, my name is Starlight, and you could find me on YouTube, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel, plus give me a thumbs up, and you could share my videos with your family or friends, and don't forget the notification bell. Plus, you could check me out on my Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is, and I hope everybody's doing great. And I am out here at this beautiful park. I love this park. This is one of my favorites out here where I am. So besides that, so today I am out here, and because, wow, you know, I don't really pay attention to this stuff anymore, but Christmas is almost here. So, 'tis the season. What's the reason? You know, 'tis the season. What's the reason for this holiday? And, you know, Christmas, you know, and it's of course, if you haven't noticed, the way they do things out here, and this has been going on for a long time, it's a pagan holiday, you know, where they got Santa Claus, you know, so that's not what Starlight's about as far as the holiday goes, you know, or, you know, this holiday. So a lot of people that are pagans, they don't want nothing to do with God, and so you might be one of those people that, you know, celebrates Christmas with the Santa Claus. But that's not what Starlight does, because I know that that is not the reason for the season, is because of Santa Claus. No, that's absolutely, totally not what this is about. And it is something as far as the, you know, holidays. Sorry about that. Starlight's got an itch, and Starlight is gonna drink some water here. Get some water. So I go through this every year, and I love Jesus. Do you love Jesus? Some of you are screaming, oh no, I don't love Jesus. Well, you know what? God gave us a free will. That's okay. You know, and I understand, because, you know, from the beginning of time, you know, Adam and Eve, when they took of the fruit, that's when everything kind of went upside down, didn't it? You know, it went, but you know what? Nothing happens by accident, and there's no coincidence there. So we have to go through some stuff anyway in life, and you know, life wasn't meant to be easy, and it is not always easy to understand what really happened in this world. And you know, I always was confused, especially as a kid, finding out, you know, my parents lied to, you know, me and my brother. Of course, my brother, he knew, and I was sticking up for Santa Claus. So any of you that have been watching my YouTube channel, you've already heard this story, maybe if you watch certain videos when it comes to the holiday. So I am here because, you know, a lot of people, you know, a lot of kids, you know, it's a sad thing that what they've done as far as the ones that are running the world, and how we are celebrating. Most people are celebrating Christmas with Santa Claus, which I call him Satan Claus, Satan. So, you know, because it's really, it's a slap in God's face is what this is. And a lot of people are celebrating for this, because it was really about Jesus being born, that God brought his, you know, his child here on earth, because Jesus was gonna, you know, and Jesus did come and shake some shit up. So we needed that so bad, you know, because Jesus was to help us to teach us how powerful we are, you know, and what we're made out of. And throughout history, you know, there's been people that have been killed, you know, because of them finding out that they had power, that, you know, that they're more powerful than they think. I do look around, and I do see a lot of things not too long ago, and I thought it was I was like, wow, that's really true, is, women have been attacked a lot throughout history, because of, they're going to have babies, and the power of a woman. So it is something how, long time ago with witches, they were getting burned on a stake, they were being killed. And not too long ago, I seen someone, they had a sticker on their vehicle, and it says, they didn't burn witches, they were burning women. They weren't killing witches, they were killing women. And I'm like, yes, you break it down, yes, that's what it was. So we have to be careful of why we celebrate these holidays, is it something that's what you want to do as far as the holidays, as far as Christmas goes, is to, about a Santa Claus that doesn't exist, and everywhere I go, you probably see this, there's people that will, they're saying who they are just by the clothing that they wear, is, or they might even have something on their head. People might dress up and, for this holiday, Christmas, and, where they might have like a headband that goes on their head and it looks like little antlers, like the reindeer, or their clothing, so it's something. Even they have, even when you decorate, when you go to a store to buy like little labels for gifts, they'll have like Merry X Mass, Christ Mass, Christmas, Christmas. They take they took Christ out of it and they put an X, taking God out of this holiday. So, and of course, when I was born, both of my parents, they don't believe in God, I never asked them, like, what do you believe in then? What do you believe in if you don't believe in God? Like, how did all this get here? And of course, there's, times that we're gonna, when you work on yourself, then you're gonna find out more of the truth of really what's going on in here. And that is why they have, a lot of distractions out in the world, is to distract you, to pull you away from finding out who you really are. And believe it or not, the more you work on yourself, God will reward you. God can bless you and show you some things that you wouldn't be able to tell and wouldn't be able to understand if you weren't working on yourself. When you take your life serious like I am, and you start working on yourself every day like I am, and I'm not saying you guys don't, but how serious are you about working on yourself? And when it comes to Christmas, what are we doing to the children and their future? What are we, everywhere you go, there's even churches that are doing this where, the place that I went to today, they're doing the same thing. I don't need a Christmas tree. Of course, I'm living in my car, but even if I wasn't living in my car and if I was, living by myself, I want to take this time to thank God for Jesus and all the miracles that Jesus did, and what, the things that Jesus did while Jesus was here, and that he died for all of us, he was the sacrifice for all of us, so we didn't have to go to hell, and is there really a hell? It's a state of mind, but he paid for that price. That's why we have a free will to decide on our own. And so you got to be careful out there. There's a lot of people that are taking your free will away, and who are you following? I am actually, I'm not following anyone. I am a leader, not a follower. And we're all going to follow someone or something out in this world. And I am, trusting and praying to God every day. I start my morning off that way. I start my morning by, God, guide me today. Help me, help me to help other people. Use me, but that means I gotta work on myself, God can use anyone, but how is God gonna use you? So this holiday, Christmas, Christ Mass, is, it's a sad thing that goes on, because there's a lot of families out there that can't even afford to go out and buy all these presents. And why are they buying all these presents? Because they've been programmed to believe that this is how it is here, as Santa Claus. And the kids, they end up believing that there's a Santa Claus. And there's going to be a lot of kids that are going to have their hearts broken, because of a lie. Haven't we lied enough? Haven't we been lied to enough? Why do we need to spread these things out? It's a big money-making holiday, to get people to keep on buying things that they don't even need. It's everybody's out there that has these stores. They're happy because they're like, hey, yeah, I like this whole thing about, taking God out of it, taking Jesus out of this holiday. But this is what the big problem is in this world, all the lies that we've been told, and people are still out there practicing lies all the time about this holiday that's coming up. I just went to a church where they have a food pantry today, and it's kind of funny. I was like, oh, they're serving two gods. How do I know this? Well, on the yard, it's a bunch of, with Jesus and the nativity scene. It's got all that. It's got the wise men. It's got the camel out there. It's got baby Jesus out there. That's all displayed out on the big, huge stuff. And then when you walk into the church building, first thing you walk in the door, they got a display, and it could have cost a lot of money to buy that stuff, to display it at the church. But the sign that they have out front, is I like right now, for the Christmas, I rather go out and give to people that really have a need, and not to, like I have a grandson, but I'm not getting him anything for Christ Mass, Christmas, because, I don't know how my son and my daughter-in-law is going to be, doing things with my grandson. And you know what? My son knows exactly, my family knows exactly what I feel about this holiday. So I can't do anything as far as what my family are going to do as far as how they celebrate this holiday. That's something they got to figure out, My son knows the story. My son knows, how many times I didn't even like to hear anything about Christmas music, And it is, here you go. Here's a song that I was telling a homeless man not too long ago, and I'm going to sing it a little different, and I've thought of this, so many times, recently in my life, is the Santa Claus song, So this is how they twisted things around. It's so messed up. Is, oh, you better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Jesus Christ is coming to town. He knows when you are sleeping, he knows when you are awake, he knows when you're bad or good, so you better be good for Christ's sake. Starlight's gonna stop there, because I'm just trying to show you an example. See what they've done? It's not Santa Claus knows if you're good or bad. God knows if you're good or bad. It was about Jesus being here, being born, on the, around this time. It's not exact, a lot of people have the argument of what day, but that was a gift from God that God gave us, It's not about Santa Claus. You could, so Starlight's not about presents. Now, wouldn't it be a beautiful thing, instead of buying gifts for people that don't really need them, and people do this, it's about giving. It's about giving. God gave his son, for us. That is the greatest gift, is Jesus. But wouldn't it be better if we just, instead of buying gifts for each other who have plenty enough? And, have you ever had anyone where because this has happened to me many times, where you're trying to figure out, what the heck do I buy for this person? They got everything. Doesn't it feel kind of stupid to try to go and buy something for someone when they already have everything, And you're having a hard time even thinking of, what can I buy them this year, because they already have everything. Wouldn't it be amazing if all of us, the whole, world, like there's people in other countries that really have more of a need than in America. They say, God bless America. America's spoiled rotten. America's already blessed. Wouldn't it be great if we just helped other people out in different countries, or help out the homeless people that really have a need? Imagine, instead of all that money going out to people that don't even need it, or all that money that goes on Christmas decorations, imagine all the money there, instead of wasting it for a pagan holiday, is to use it to give it to other people that are struggling. How about people that are struggling with the rent? How about people that don't even have a car? People that are having a hard time with their kids paying the electric bill. That was Starlight before. It was pulling teeth, from the church to, get help from that. I gave all my extra time in the church, but when I went to ask for help, it was like pulling teeth. I was in the dark. The power got turned off. So that would be a better way of doing things, instead of all that. We don't need all these Christmas decorations and stuff like that. It looks beautiful, but I don't mind lights and stuff like that, but all these Christmas decorations out here with Santa Claus and the reindeer and all that, it is sad, because people wonder why the world is screwed up the way it is, because people are serving other gods. They're serving other gods. They're putting other gods before the Creator God, and they do a lot of things to God, But I'll tell you what, you reap what you sow out there. I'll tell you that much. Everybody's going to reap what they sow, whether you sow seeds of kindness or sow seeds of wickedness or evil. It's all coming back, So anyway, I love you so much. I really hope you have a beautiful Christ Mass on Christmas Day. Like I said, I'm not buying my grandson anything for Christmas, because I don't want him to be confused on really what is going on. He's so young. And so anyway, I love you so much. You could give this video a thumbs up. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, you can leave me a message down below, and you could share my videos with your family or friends, a cat, a dog, and you could share my videos with those pagans out there and Christians. There's a lot of Christians serving two gods, having two masters. And like I said, that church, hang on, I gotta hang this phone up here, is they had the nativity scene, but on the board, that goes out to the street so you can read the sign, it's got the Christmas tree and the presents under it. What does that, so I am all about helping out people that are in need. That's what I'm all about. We have our own birthday, So I love you so much. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.